Now, something else the President Donald Trump would have no doubt been keeping an eye on today was that part two of the second round of Democrat candidates' debates. This time it was in Detroit. A congresswoman from Hawaii appears to be the big winner after today's round. According to Google, Tulsi Gabbard was the most searched for candidate in every US state during the televised debate in Detroit. She and several others landed telling blows against the two perceived frontrunners.
Before a bruising clash, an opening plea. The Democrat frontrunner opened with more focus and fire.
Mr. President, let's get something straight. We love it. We are not leaving it. We are here to stay, and we're certainly not going to leave it to you.
But the former vice president has a record, and every rival was ready to attack it.
And it looks like one of us has learned the lessons of the past, and one of us hasn't. Let me begin by telling you,
Mr. Vice President, you can't have it both ways. You invoke President Obama more than anybody in this campaign. You can't do it when it's convenient and then dodge it when it's not.
The issue of race provided one of the starkest dividing lines.
There's a saying in my community, you're dipping into the Kool-Aid and you don't even know the flavor.
She put over 1,500 people in jail for marijuana violations and then laughed about it when she was asked if she ever smoked marijuana. She blocked evidence. She blocked evidence that would have freed an innocent man from death row until the courts forced her to do so. She kept people in prison beyond their sentences to use them as cheap labor for the state of California. There is no excuse for that, and the people who suffered under your reign as prosecutor, you owe them an apology.
A crowded field doesn't look any clearer, but the future of the man currently at the top may well be decided by his past.
So were there clear winners and losers? I spoke a little earlier to CNN's Richard Roth from Detroit. Richard Roth, thanks very much for your time. There in Detroit, was there any clear winner after this debate?
No, there was no clear winner. Joe Biden, the front runner, had to make a better showing than he did a month ago in Miami, Florida, and he generally did. But for the 76-year-old candidate who was tentative at times in the first debate, he performed okay, but he was really a target of almost everyone on the stage. And it seemed to at times take a toll. I mean, Biden would say that occurred many years ago, or that's a bunch of malarkey, using his folksy approach. But there was a younger, hungry bunch on that stage with him, and we'll have to wait a few days before the next polls to see if they made a dent in the big Biden lead, which so far has remained unchallenged.
The topics, the issues that were in focus tonight there, health, immigration, criminal justice, even climate change. Is it becoming clearer what the divisions are between these Democrat candidates?
Well, over the last two nights of debates, 20 candidates in all, 10 at a time on the stage, the clear differences are still there regarding moderates or centrists and so-called progressives or liberals who want bigger government plans, spend a lot of money, but also have unique, different ideas and say it's time, in effect, again, for a new generation. You saw the generational differences on the stage tonight in Detroit, where Biden at times was championing his record as vice president under Barack Obama, which is receding into view, and also was referring to programs and plans from decades ago, or let's build on Obamacare, he said, things like that. And these other candidates have a lot of new ideas. However, the main question remains electability. Who can beat Donald Trump? And I think Democrats, that's their main chief idea. They want to go with a candidate who can win, and they're willing to sacrifice their values or views to get with the winner. I'm not sure Biden really wrapped it up tonight by far.
Well, in the first round of debates a month ago, Kamala Harris was seen to have done well. She got a bump in the polls as a result of that. How did she perform there tonight?
And then in the last poll, she went down a bit, so you can't really tell. But in effect, I think she was a little surprised. She became more of a target. Certainly Biden was prepared for some of her arguments and said that, you know, his national health insurance plan would save more money than Kamala Harris's so-called Medicare for all national insurance, which he says would take 10 years and would cost many more dollars. Harris got attacked by Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard, the only person on the stage who served in the Iraq War, challenging her record as a prosecutor in the state of California. And the audience really liked what they heard in challenging Harris, who came back and said it's very easy to give speeches from stages. I was in the trenches. I had to make the hard decisions on whether to go for the death penalty in certain cases. But Gabbard accused her of really holding back on evidence that could have cleared an innocent man on death row. We'll see how the polls go. I mean, Gabbard and some of the other candidates, Governor Jay Inslee of the state of Washington, very strong on climate change. We'll see if they can finally get a bump. But if they don't, then I don't know if there's something wrong with the format or just people know Biden, know him well, like the fact that he's with Obama, especially African-American voters who prefer Biden to Harris at this point.
We will see what flows from all of this. CNN's Richard Roth, thank you very much for joining me.